You got a motion to approve the agenda?
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve. I was waiting for Patrick to settle down. Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that. Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Or any discussion, any changes? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone here for public comments?
Guess not. I know who. Google Pixels, Brita.
Because we did.
Yep.
So, the first appointment's at 6:40, so we're gonna. See no one here for that, we'll jump over that and go to Brad since you're here, emergency management.
All right, so the first thing on the agenda is cooling stations. And I think we all know, I don't want to throw a bunch of numbers at you, but heat advisories, heat waves, emergencies.
Can you, come up to the microphone? We've had several people say that you can't hear. It's right here.
That thing?
Yes.
There's a comfy chair right here, Brad.
And he smiles.
I might not leave.
There, that's better.
Okay, can you hear me now? So anyway, heat emergencies have been increasing. I mean, all you need to do is turn on the news to hear it throughout the country, but also in Vermont. And in fact, in Vermont, it's been increasing faster than anywhere else. So heat waves are starting earlier, they're more intense, they're lasting longer, they're staying later in the season. So on all, it's becoming a problem and more people are getting injured, or we call it illness, than all other natural weather events in the country. So far in Vermont, we've had 2 heat waves. One in June was 3 days. And that was particularly bad because we're not acclimated yet.
Mhm.
And so there was, I think I heard in the state 40 people admitted for heat illnesses. The one in July, not so much here, but in other parts of the state, lasted 12 days, which is a record breaker. And that's so far in July. And so there's increased danger also when it doesn't cool down at night. People don't have a chance to cool
Yeah.
down. So, I mean, we're kind of lucky here that for the most part, it does. But heat builds up, and if they can't cool down at night, it builds up and people get sick faster. So anyway, the state is doing a big push towards cooling stations, and the Department of Health, Vermont Department of Health, has a cooling station map that's available online. And that's any town that says we have such and such a place for cooling gets put on that map, and you know, they can put hours and restrictions and availability and, you know, whatever is accessible. So in Royalton, there's the library, which has agreed to be public during their open hours, which is Tuesday through Saturday. Payne's Beach is listed, and the senior center, which is open, I think, for maybe 6 hours a week. And so I'm here asking that we can also add this building during times when it's open, when there's people here. And on the map, we can, you know, we can put the hours and restrictions, stuff like that.
And we talked about this before, do you have a, staffing for, if you're here, having
No.
somebody in the building shouldn't, interrupt work, so.
Right, no, I mean, people that come in to cool off don't have to be babysat. And they really shouldn't need security if they're just coming in to cool off, really just to sit and cool off. So I don't have plans to staff it. But I don't think it needs to be staffed.
Okay.
I can provide water, bottled water. Um. And so forth. So. You know, I was thinking about it, this is a public building. So unless the door gets locked or physically barricaded, people are welcome to come in anyway, so I guess what I'm asking is. On the Department of Health map, can we list it as a cooling station?
Would it be disruptive to you guys to work here?
I don't
Have-
think so.
Or the
Not-
people in?
Not on a typical day. I mean, maybe if we had something else going on, but I mean, normally no one is in this room
Mhm.
during open hours unless there's like a one-off that somebody wants to use it.
How much, do you know how much the other stations in town get used?
I have not heard. Of any use yet.
Okay.
Doesn't mean there hasn't been, I just haven't heard about it.
Right.
You know, maybe people going to the library to cool off. Or read a book and cool off, or,
Yeah, but they're certainly not mobbing the place.
No. I mean, I go to the law school library when it was so hot. Cause I could read there.
yeah, I did approach the law school and. The person that I have as contact supposedly is working it up the ladder, so I haven't heard back yet. I asked Bethel, I got no reply. I asked Sunbridge, they don't have anything designated. In Randolph, they have the senior center and Chandler. And that's all I know.
If you list the academy building, is someone gonna be there to open it up?
So, yeah, we can use the academy building, but
Yeah.
that would need somebody there.
That would need AC to be a cooling station.
It has,
Yeah, it has.
the heat pumps.
It has heat pumps, so it's cooler than.
What about Payne's Beach?
It's
That's a river access.
It's no enclosed space, so it's. It's just the water.
Yeah, so, and people said, geez, we have a river running through the town, you know.
Yeah,
What if
I-
those idiots
yeah.
just go down the river, which,
I have no problem listing all these places that the groups want it. They accept the library, accepted it, the town for the academy and here. Payne's Beach would be the Lions Club, but it's open anyways.
And it's open anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
and I think the only thing that we have to be sure of is to include the hours, because
Mhm.
you said they list the hours, but. You know, if somebody comes here at 5 o'clock and the doors are closed.
yeah,
You know, what are they gonna do?
yeah, absolutely, and. If. My thought is if it's after hours and it's really needed, we would open up the academy as a shelter or
Mhm.
cooling station.
As an emergency, yeah.
At night. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, no accommodations, no overnight, no whatever other restrictions, you know, guns, drugs, alcohol, pets, all that stuff.
I don't see why we wouldn't. Put that on the list.
Do we wanna make a motion
I'll
that,
make a motion that we approve the locations that Brad has approached.
I'll second that.
okay? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
All right,
Aye.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Next,
Next is the MOU, and I'm really embarrassed. I came straight from work and I didn't bring it with me.
Gotcha.
But I did.
because she came straight from.
That was sent to us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
um,
can't remember what it is, but.
it was a while ago.
Hmm?
It was a little
No, I
while.
mean, what is it, the MOU for?
oh, it's just for use of private facilities during emergencies.
Oh, okay.
So it
Yeah.
could be the church's.
Yep, I can remember
shelter,
what it is now, yeah.
Parking lot, you know, warehouse for whatever.
Mhm.
Someplace for pets, I don't. So I tried to make it very generic. And I don't think it's binding. It's really just an MOU was just sort of a
Yeah.
formal handshake. deal.
That's a
You
memorandum
know,
of
like right
understanding.
now, I have handshake deals with two of the churches for,
Yeah.
I think I emailed you, as alternate shelters.
Yeah,
So, you know, if they were willing and we were willing, we could fill one of these out.
so you need a motion to approve your MOU?
Do we need to sign?
Yeah, so what I'm hoping is either it gets approved. Or if you want to edit it, or. You know, have a lawyer look at it. Or just say throw it out.
I think you've done a good job on it, so I'd make a motion to approve the MOU for emergency.
Do we want? Any more time to look at it? Or approve it as is?
Well, when we talked about it before, someone had brought up concerns about the legalities of like. Being responsible for the people in that space. I don't know, I'm just remembering from one of those meetings. That was brought up as a
Yeah,
concern.
I don't know the
liability.
answer to that.
Right. It seems like in times of emergency, there should be a like clause that would, you know. It would not be a problem. Or you couldn't get sued during an emergency. I don't know. But I think it's a great idea to have it in place for a plan of action. I'm just bringing that up because it was brought up before and I don't think we ever finished talking about it.
Yeah. There is a statement about how the town would not hold the facility liable. Unless they did something grossly negligent, but I don't see where it says anywhere where the town can't be held. So that's it.
I seem to remember on some other things, they have these indemnify and hold harmless clauses.
The town of Royalton agrees to indemnify and hold harmless this facility, agents, officers, employees. Coming against coins.
That,
But I don't know if it's.
yeah, that
specifically
covers
said-
us. I'm not sure if that's addressing what you were
Yeah,
talking about. No,
It covers not the town though. It doesn't cover the town.
correct.
It covers the
The facility,
buildings.
but didn't you just say that also indemnifies?
The town of
Folks.
Royalton agrees to indemnify and hold harmless this facility.
So
So
not the
I think-
town.
I think she's right. It
Okay.
doesn't address. Facility holding the town line.
Is this a boilerplate MOU?
It
Adapted?
It was. Yeah, it was originally. Put together by David Barker's wife. Just for emergency shelters,
Mhm.
and it was a boilerplate that she got from somewhere. And I looked at it and I kind of tweaked it again,
Mhm.
so that it would be more broad and general. So I didn't come up with some of these legalese words.
So this is for, we don't have a list of those places yet. This is for those places to sign with you so that it's.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I know of right now that we have is the Red Door Church and Cornerstone Church has said, yeah, if you need to, you can use our
Mhm.
building
Mhm.
as a shelter.
And the academy building, the town.
Well,
facility.
that's town,
Yeah.
right? So that wouldn't fall under this.
And you mentioned in one of the LDS, the Mormon
Well,
church,
this discussion
Yeah.
has been going on
Yeah,
for years. and
yeah.
I thought they offered as well.
I haven't heard it.
Yeah,
So,
okay, I may be mistaken or thinking of something else.
Yeah, so either it's outside of me or it was before me.
But we can always add them later.
Let's just say like a building got damaged
Mhm.
during this. Would they be able to then say, hey, our building got damaged and
Well,
messed up? I mean, like, I don't mean to be splitting
Mhm,
hairs.
yeah.
I really don't care. I think it's a great idea. I'm just bringing up that idea that it could,
Yeah.
like, would it then fall back on the town to be like,
And there's also a possibility that somebody is at the shelter and something happens, they get into an altercation and they could sue the town for opening the shelter and.
I'm just wondering if that's the
That
case.
kind of
Maybe
stuff
it's
is-
not.
yeah, to
You
your,
know, you can keep adding stuff to it and adding stuff to it, but is it really necessary?
to your point now, that there is a paragraph in here that basically says, yeah. Expenses, supplies, other resources related to the emergency use will be replaced or reimbursed by the town. You know, with or without disaster relief funds. Reasonable expenses include utilities, modification, damages. So it does put
Mhm.
that liability.
Well, whatever you guys think, I think it's a great idea to have in place. I really don't think there will be a problem, but
Well, I think we need to consider the conditions under that, when that would happen anyway. I mean, if we needed these shelters for a significant number of people, I think potential damage to the shelter and the town's liability is probably not our main concern. If you're talking about a disaster on that scale.
yeah, not until after the disaster has passed, but yeah, I would agree with that.
So I'll second John's motion.
Any further discussion? Okay, let's take a vote. Shall we approve that motion?
Aye,
Aye,
Alright,
So
Okay,
we'll take that and run with it and,
so do you need signatures on
see
that
if you need to.
or just,
there's no.
No.
Okay. There's a place on here for
the facility probably.
the facility and town of Royalton, which could be any of you or me.
but we wouldn't need that
Anyways.
until the,
Right, this would be all filled out first.
Yeah.
right,
And say, okay,
and we wouldn't execute
We have
this
an
until,
agreement
we wouldn't
with-
execute this until we needed it anyway.
Red Door Church. for instance.
Or is this,
Or
or
is
is this
this
a
something-
standing thing?
That you wanna have stand, I think it would be. a
yeah, it
standing
would be
thing.
ahead of time so that you could use that place, right? It's not
Yeah.
like,
Get the signatures from
Yeah,
the
Okay.
church.
Yeah,
right,
okay,
but I mean, to sign it now would be.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
No.
ask you.
no, but if you get the building identified and bring it back to us, we'll have it on file. And we sign it.
And my ambition is to make sure these are updated every year.
Yeah.
With the LEMP, which is done in April, but
well, that's awesome.
that
Brad.
means. That means I have to be on top.
I'm glad you're doing this, yeah.
Okay. Next time,
So Old Home Days, we're hoping to have a table there like we did last year, past couple of years. At least Saturday, maybe part of Friday as well. So, the reason I brought it up was two reasons. One is I forget who to contact about setting up a table.
same Bruce.
Sam Bruce, okay, that's kind of what I was thinking. Two, and this is not the completed item, it's just a sort of a draft on my computer, but we're gonna have this brochure. And I think it's at the printers now, So it's being professionally printed. But I can pass it around. It's just sort of information about the town. So we're gonna have those for give outs. And I just got these in today. Or yesterday. I could get them up. Yeah, lots of, these keychains,
Swag.
just basically,
Yeah. Ooh, that's an emergency management.
just basically, promotional.
I mentioned the Historical Society is having a program with Howard Coffin on.
I'm sorry.
I mentioned that the Historical Society is having a program with Howard Coffin talking about Barry Fell and the Stone Chambers.
Oh,
And it's going to be held at the law school at Chase Center. Howard always brings a big crowd. It's at 2:00 and not much goes on in the green in South Royalton. So I don't know if you want
on
to
Saturday?
set a table up at the law school to hit whoever comes to that.
Okay. Anyway, so far I have a couple of people who said, yeah, I can probably spend some time there. I'm hoping not to spend all day. So that's all I have on that. And last year they put us kind of in the back corner between a bunch of bounce houses.
Oh,
We're not gonna do that this year. We're probably gonna be next to the police department.
it makes
That
more
makes
sense.
more sense.
Yeah.
And
Although who doesn't want to be near a bounce house?
Loretta kind of said. next year-
Right? I'm telling you. You're more than welcome to join our table, Brad.
Oh, thank you.
Do you want to be near the bounce house, Loretta?
I don't care. Will they let me in it?
Yeah.
Sure.
They won't let you
Who's gonna
out.
keep you out? All right, well, thank you,
Okay,
Brad.
So cool.
and I'm doing the conservation commission thing too.
Oh,
So. And I forget off the top of my head, the agency, but it was a group that was put together. What the heck was it called? When that guy was gonna do the commune in the four towns.
Yeah. the
Oh,
New
yeah,
Vista
yeah.
thing.
Or,
New Frontiers.
The New Vista.
New Vista.
And then there was this group
the
that
Four
got put
Towns
together
Alliance.
to oppose it, anyway, so when that disbanded, they had a bunch of money. And so they donated $2,000 to each of the four towns. And so that went into, I believe, our conservation fund. And also 2 6x6 black locust posts to build a kiosk. And that money and the posts were to build a
Mhm.
kiosk for the Conservation Commission. So I'm building one, it's almost done. It's big, it's massive, it's made of hemlock and locust.
Multi-talented.
Yeah, so, so we got together and we're deciding like, well, where do we want it? And we decided, we thought about all these different possibilities, and we figured it should be on the Crawford property somewhere. But ultimately, we ended up saying, if we put it out in front of this building, the town could use it, as long as there's enough room left on it for a trail map,
Mhm.
which is really all we need it for. And I'm building it pretty big, the board is 5 feet by 44 inches, so there's not gonna be a ton of room on it. So our thought is to put it to the left of the David Ainsworth Memorial Bench. Kind of out in that corner.
Sort of in front of
Hide
the generator
hide the
thing.
generator. Be out of the way. We want to make sure it didn't obstruct the view of any of your
Yeah.
offices. And so far you've all said that's fine, because it wouldn't. I did email Walter, because it would have to be mowed around. I think it's out of the way of snow removal, which
Mhm.
was a big consideration. And I want to make sure there's no buried lines out there.
Gee,
It'd have
why?
to be, the post would be sunken.
Yeah, there is a very gas line to the generator.
Yeah, I know where that is.
And there's a power line to the street light. But it seems like a good location for it, because people will see it who may not even know there are trails out there.
Yeah,
If they see it, they'll walk out that.
yeah, we
door.
thought about putting it there, we thought about putting it at the
It would be hidden,
trailhead there, or the parking area on Mill Street.
yeah,
But like, that would have limited
yeah,
value, and this could be valuable,
dual
to the town.
purpose, yeah.
right, dual purpose.
What about the fire station, or I mean, the rescue station location?
Won't impact rescues,
impact that.
like in the front, the very
They're gonna
front
be way
corner,
down.
Yeah,
so it would be fine.
And Walter had no issues, that it's not in the way.
Walter hasn't gotten back,
Ah, okay.
so
Walter's hard to get a hold
I
of.
do
He's
think,
been out sick,
Oh, he has?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too
Um,
bad. I hope he's okay.
I mean, I do think it's important to get his feedback,
Yeah,
as
Yeah,
much as don't want to delay this. There's really no,
well, especially
no
in
big
terms,
urgency on it.
yeah, well, especially as you say, in terms of like snow removal. You don't wanna
Yeah,
find out that that's actually where,
right.
and there wouldn't pile of snow up near the generator.
Do you need to call DigSafe for that? To make sure,
Probably a good idea.
that's what they're for.
So I'd make a motion, we approve the location for the conservation kiosk. After hearing from DigSafe and Walter.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
I wouldn't mind seeing what it looked like before you put it up there.
You know where I live?
Yeah.
It's not all together because it's way too big and heavy,
You put it together once here, yeah.
so we're gonna have to put it
Is it
together.
a timber frame?
Pieces, yeah. Yeah, 6x6 locust posts are about 6 feet apart. The rest is hemlock.
Benches around,
Frame board,
or just flat benches in there, or just,
no, it's just,
It's a bulletin
it's just a
board.
board with a roof,
okay. Okay, oh, okay.
it's rough cut. Hemlock.
Sort of similar to
I haven't
what's at
decided
the
what to
academy,
roof it with yet, probably metal,
similar to what's at the academy.
except much bigger.
In
and
better
bulkier
shape,
and
probably,
massive and
yeah.
Prettier.
have you seen the one that went up in Tunbridge Village, Brad, by the post office?
No,
Well, that's a
From what
nice
you're
looking one,
describing.
yeah.
It's
I'm trying to
probably
picture
similar.
this one
If that's where they
I
put,
kind of designed, I went around and snapped pictures of different ones I saw at different places and kind of cobbled together.
That's good.
Cool, okay.
Oh, we have a motion, did we actually vote on it?
No. All those in favor of the motion?
I,
Aye. All right, so we.
Well, Brad, you get citizen of the year here with all your stuff.
Thank you.
No, thank you, that's awesome.
Okay, Kit, are you online? Or,
Hi, Kit,
Hi.
are you, hi, sorry about that. It took
You're
me a
good.
little while to figure out how to get on. I'm sorry about the delay.
oh, no
No
worries,
problem. I assume you mean not Farnham, but
Farnsworth.
Farnsworth.
sorry, my
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
And I can actually put my camera on too, if that's helpful. Victoria had mentioned that I had asked her about replacing 2 trees that were taken down on our property when they put the road in to the brook to do the bridge repair. And one was a large tamarack that we planted about 30 years ago, and the other one is a large crabapple tree that was kind of down closer to the brook. And so she told me I needed to come to you all and ask whether that might be something that the town could reimburse, or at least, I don't expect to have a 30-year-old tree, but I would just it would be nice to plant something in the 2 areas that we had trees. So anyway, I talked to EC Brown's in Thetford to get some estimates. And I don't know if that's helpful to know what that is or how.
No, they have a sale on trees this week.
Do that? Yeah, they great sales. I don't think we'll be able to plant them for a while though, until we know what will happen with that road, because the road still goes through our property right now and into the brook. So I'm not sure when that project will be done. So we probably won't be able to plant anything for a little while until we know more about that. Do you have an update?
Did you get a price?
Yes, sorry. Well, the largest tamarack they have would be $500. And the largest crab apple they have is about $700. That's a 2.5-inch trunk. We had probably a 6-inch trunk. And she said you normally would add roughly $200 for each additional inch. So, I mean, I would say between 700 and 1,000 for a larger crabapple. So that's roughly the estimate of EC Brown for those types of trees to be replaced.
Okay, it's my understanding that those trees are in the right of way. Or were in the right of way.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. The tamarack was fairly close to the road. The crabapple was not close to the road. It was, I don't know, it was further away and not within the eminent domain of the road. But because they had to make sort of a temporary road down to the brook, they had to take that out.
Well, I am wondering if you would consider going with a smaller tree or trees, because there's quite a difference in price for a smaller tree.
Right.
And, I think we might want to consider working with you on that, but I don't know about the price of these. It seems kind of high.
Yeah, we would definitely consider a smaller tree. I was just trying to give you an estimate for kind of the larger ones that they had. But we would definitely consider, I mean, it'd be nice to have something to replace them, but a smaller tree would be fine.
Who do you want to plant and water them?
Who do I want to do that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming that's something that we would do, but.
So you go to East Thetford and get the tree or wherever and.
Yeah.
Regularly?
Right. We aren't going to get one that's so large that we can't plant.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Could you guys just give me a background on, I think I remember something about this, but when were they cut down and why were they cut down?
I have a photo if that's
Okay.
Oh, you do? Oh,
So
good.
this is, to the best of my knowledge, the crabapple tree that Kit is talking about. Kit's property drops down to Broadbrook. So you can kind of see, like, that's the crabapple tree that was down in her yard.
Okay, and that's the other tree up on
Not the
the.
tamarack
I
next to it?
don't believe that is the tamarack next to it. Kit, is that right? The tamarack was not next to the crabapple?
No, that's a blue spruce that's still there. The tamarack was on the corner when they took out the guardrail and the tamarack. I think I did send you that picture as well, so I think you have that one.
Now where that crabapple tree was, that's what Kit has,
Is that
the
road
road
there?
down.
And that's her property.
Yes.
Oh. Well, I think it's because the town took the trees down to get down to the brook to make the repairs, we are obligated to replace them, but I agree, maybe a smaller sized tree, because they grow pretty fast.
Well, I bought a crab apple, earlier in the year and cost $69.
Yeah, that's about what they are.
So, and I know that's just a lot smaller than the tree you had, but. I think that would be
No,
um,
the red
a
oaks,
reasonable compromise.
the red oaks I planted were about $65 each. Yeah. And they're them in there 3 years.
Are you suggesting cap on the reimbursement?
Well, I'm not, I'm suggesting we, instead of going with the EC Brown truck price, we find another alternative, but
Well, the town can buy them from Northern Nursery in White River.
And
They
EC
do
Brown,
allow towns get them. Yeah.
sorry to interrupt, Stuart. I was going to say EC Brown probably does have cheaper ones that are much smaller, and that's fine too. I was just trying to find something give you a comparable price, but they probably have cheaper crab apples too, I would think. But whichever place is like Northern Nurseries or EC Brown, whatever is the best place, would be nice to replace those.
When will the town be done with the road?
You have quotes to review, later on the agenda. And then it'll really depend on when contractors are available. They're gonna have to pour quite a bit of concrete. So hopefully before it gets too cold to do that, but it could be next spring, depending on folks' schedules and
Okay,
that sort of thing.
yeah, and even if the work isn't done. If it's done this fall, it'll still be too cold for planting.
yeah, so planting in the spring would be a better deal.
I think we could, we could
Back to this.
consider this and come up with an agreement, but the planting shouldn't take place until the project is over.
Yeah.
And it may be, you have to understand, it may be another year.
Do you think it will take that long? You aren't sure yet, when
It's beyond it's out of our control. That you don't want to be planting trees when they're still working on the bridge. I don't think that'd be a good idea.
Yes, of course not. Okay. So, do we just proceed, or do you want me to do we present it again in the spring when the job work's done? How do we go? Where do we go from here on it?
I think we should make an agreement that we will replace them when the work is done. And it'll probably be spring because of the construction schedule.
And with some sort of cap on it, sounds like, which is fine.
Yeah, I realize you're gonna have to shop for the trees, so, I'm hesitant to put a price on it without, who knows what the price will be next spring, but we understand, I think we're in agreement that, we will replace something.
Okay.
As far as the trees go.
Great. Thank you.
Do we wanna have a vote on that, or? I don't really wanna leave an open-ended.
Yeah, I don't want to leave it open-ended, but then we're tying the hands on the next select board to approve it.
Yeah.
Well, if it's next spring, it's still gonna be us.
Yeah.
Can it
March.
just be recorded in the minutes that you're in agreement to doing it, or do you need to vote on it, or?
Well, we would have to vote on it to be in agreement.
Yeah. So. I make a motion that we agree in principle that the town will replace the 2 trees on Farnsworth property. With the specifics of price. And timing to be revisited at the end of construction.
I'll second that.
Does that? Would sound like it meets your approval?
Yes, thank you. That would be great. I appreciate that.
Any other comments about this tree issue?
Guess we're lucky you're allowing us to use the access to get down to it.
Well, it's definitely to our advantage to have that bridge repaired.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Double the traffic in front of the
Hey.
house, so.
Hate to hold up the bridge work for a couple trees. All right, let's have a vote. All those in favor of the motion?
Alright,
Aye.
Okay, so we have approved a motion. It'll be in the minutes. And we'll revisit this when construction is done or near completion.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, bye.
Carmen, are you here for,
I'm
Business?
gonna, I'll have to sneak in under other,
under other?
I wasn't able to get this in. I just got it this morning, so. I'll wait, or
Well, we're gonna move on to the next thing unless you
The
want
tax rate.
something you wanna,
I would love to,
stay around for, or do you wanna go ahead?
oh. Whichever works better for you, honestly.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm here, to request that the select board consider mass mailing of the justice of the peace ballots for the November election. I understand that you may not be comfortable voting on that tonight because or it may not even be legal. But I'm asking that you at least consider it and put it to the vote at your very next select board meeting. I'm asking this because this morning, the Secretary of State's office sent us a note. One of the new laws that was put into place for mass mailings affects us in a way, affects clerks throughout the state in a way that they hadn't considered. We as a town don't mass mail, and that was voted on. But the state has decided pre-COVID, but post-COVID, that they would mass mail their November ballots. As a town, the Board of Civil Authority had the right to, and I think maybe John would have been on the board at the time, had the right to choose to do that, which I went before the board. It's in the minutes. They said, sure, you can piggyback the justice of the peace entries onto the back of the state ballot because it's the cost is easier for us. But we can't, I can't do that on my own. I can't piggyback it now because the state has said now that towns and not the Board of Abatement, who've already said that the Board of Civil Authority has okayed the two ballots combined because it's good money management. I just need permission from the select board to allow a mass mailing. And what that would do is that would allow us to piggyback our JP ballots onto the November ballot. And the state would pick up the mailing tab on that.
So they've got to mail out ballots
I
anyway.
would have to mail it, we as a town would have to mail them out anyway, we wouldn't have to mail them all. But anyone who requested them, we would get them, it's very easy to get a ballot in Vermont. So, and we would still have to pay for our share of programming the tabulator, which we have done for at least 4 years, maybe 6, I'd have to go back. But it's been at least that long, we've done that anyway. But what this would do is it would save our office dealing with 2 sets of ballots, 1 town ballots and 1 state ballots. And it would save us as a town, not as a state, but it would save us as a town mailing out up to 2,200 ballots at about $1.25 each. which is more than 50% of my entire elections budget.
So is that the only ballot that you have to, provide is the justice of the peace ballot?
At this point, and the other thing would be, that would depend on the select board, if you choose to have another vote in November. What the Secretary of State's office has also kindly agreed to, if that were the case for anyone, not for anyone in the state who would like to piggyback a bond vote or a single issue vote. We could also piggyback that onto the November general.
Okay, is there a deadline that we need to be aware of?
Yes, yes, the deadline, I'm supposed to have, if the town would like to have this happen, I need to notify the elections division by August 9th.
Oh,
I'm aware that you don't meet until
13th or something.
13th. I'm reading this that it would be a consideration. And then if it falls through, and if you choose not to do that, if you choose not to save a little money and.
So we'll be mailing out presidential and the statewide,
No, we won't.
who will be
The
paying,
state will. That's the new law that
Okay.
affects,
so they're gonna be,
every second year. It only affects the November general elections, and it just does.
Okay, I'm still unclear,
Yeah.
the August 9th deadline, you have to notify them, but do you have to have the final wording by August 9th?
No, just to give them a heads up.
When do you need the final wording?
That would be the next meeting.
on the 13th.
Yeah, I could withdraw without any harm or foul.
So
If the
if,
town would like this to happen, please notify the election division by August 9th, and then what they'll do is they open up the programming system for me, so I can get in there and I can program the
so
names and. everything.
anything that we wanted to piggyback would have to be decided. We would have to decide to do by August 13th, or just the fact that we're going to piggyback.
If we have a question that we're gonna
Sure.
put to the voters, does that go? Do we have to have that wording by August 9th
Or 13th.
or 13th?
Good question. The deadline would fall to me on August 23rd to double check the data and enter any local public questions. And I have that from the state, the time they're giving us. And if you decided you wanted to put a public question out there, that's fine. I mean, we're capable of, I've done 3 sets of mailings at once, so I'm capable, and the office is,
I'm just
Can
thinking,
manage.
I'm just thinking of efficiency.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Please.
So Royalton votes public questions from the floor. So there's very few things, I mean, like, there's just the statutory things that you have to vote by ballot.
Right,
That you might want to put on there. We have the bond vote scheduled for North Road
that's an
to
honest.
go in August. Theoretically, if that vote did not carry and you decided you wanted to re-vote it, you might choose to do that in November. It would be close but not impossible.
and the school is thinking of a bond vote in November too, aren't they?
I don't know,
What about the
but
plan-
that's, it's separate anyway.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, our
What about
office
the planning?
can manage it. This is just an opportunity for my office to save a little money and get all of the ballots out there for the justice of double P. Happens once every 2 years.
So what are the pitfalls of us not, I mean, it sounds like a win if we just let you do that. I don't understand what the problem is. Are there any problems with us allowing you to do that?
I could look into it, but, I mean, I have, no, I don't see any at all. But it falls to the select board now. That's the new law. That the select board has to decide if they want, for that particular election, if they want to mass mail.
So we simply need.
Same thing
We
you all
simply
did
need to
during-
agree that we want to save money by piggybacking onto the
Yeah, it's always been a good idea in the past, and I pushed that, it was 4 or 6 years ago, and the Board of Civil Authority decided, great, do that. But now there's just another piece of legislation because of the November mailing that the state now requires, we don't have to, we don't have to mass mail them. I can still mail them out just like we always have been. But the federal ballots up until COVID for the November general election have never been a mass mail.
If we didn't do this, we'd have to hand count the JP ballot.
Yes, and that is between 3 and 4.5 hours
Yeah.
after the close of polls, which would probably be on a federal election. Probably will be getting out of there with the tabulator 10:30, which is a fantastic time compared to the old days,
Yeah.
2, 3 in the morning. 1, 2, 3.
Well, it sounds to me like
Sounds like a no-brainer.
we can do
Yeah.
it, but there's still a question of whether we need other ballots, which.
Well, if you did, then I would make sure it happened. That would be my job to make sure that they got mailed out and properly, and I would do that still.
I'll make a motion that we piggyback JP ballots on the,
Actually,
Tabulator.
that's already covered by my minutes in the Board of Civil Authority. It's to allow me to use the state mass mailing program. That's what it is, because we'd be tucked into their mass mailing. That would be what some people would consider maybe a negative effect
mailing would all be done out of Montpelier.
through the Montpelier office. And yeah, we tend to use L Brown. We have some say as to which companies produce the ballots and mail. And that's what has been happening for the past 2 cycles because of COVID.
So we need the motion to just to allow us to use the state's mass mailing.
Yeah.
I would have tucked it in the ballots anyway. That's what we would have legally been doing, putting them all together. It's just now I need an okay from the select board to, when they get put on the back of the ballot,
So they would be tucking it into the
that the select
envelopes.
board recognizes that, that the JPs would go out mass mailing.
So do you wanna,
It will save us mailing, it will save us time in the office, it will save us some money. It will mean that we won't be mailing our own,
Okay,
JP ballots, but they will be all vetted by us.
we're trying to get a motion here, so hold on.
the voters would get one mailing. They wouldn't get multiple mailings with ballots. Okay,
For mass mailing, yeah.
So we need
a motion to
A motion.
piggyback onto the state. Mass
To
mailing.
allow, I think the motion needs to be to allow Carmen to use the mass mailing
Yeah,
program.
I'll second that.
any other discussion? Further? All those in favor of the motion to allow Carmen to use the state's mass mailing program?
All right,
There you have it.
Thank you. Are you gonna want anything else from me on that?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay, thanks, Carmen.
Thank Carmen.
Thank you. That one
Um,
surprised me.
Well, glad you managed to skip in here tonight and not.
Yeah,
It's that firstborn type A personality.
mhm.
I have none.
Okay, the next item is set the sewer rate.
No, you skipped,
Municipal tax rate.
Oh,
Wishful thinking.
yeah, okay, municipal tax rate.
I don't know if there's much discussion, I mean. We voted the budget. In March. And we do know it's going up because our budget did.
So the 2023 tax rate is, the educational tax rate for residents is actually going down.
You mean 24?
No, the 23 is 1.5612 and the 24 is 1.5206, so that's a,
But what is the black
that's a
line?
drop. The black line is your homestead tax rate, which is the combination of. Oh, that was the educational rate that I was just reading. The municipal rate is what's going up. And that's. The total rate is, tax rate for 23 was 0.8203, and the tax rate for 24 is 1.0118. And that's a 6.3% increase when you factor in the educational rate. Is that educational rate set, or is that gonna change?
No, that is set.
It is set, okay. The non-residential rate. The municipal rate for 23 was 0.808203, which is the same as the residential rate. And the 24 tax rate is 1.0118, which is also the same as the residential rate for that part, but the educational tax rate has a change, which we do not set. 23 was 1.62280, and the 24 rate is 1.7510, which is a total of 12.8% increase for the non-residential tax rate. So these are that was for the benefit of the people that aren't here in the room. Do we need to have an explanation of this, or what's the board feel?
The tax rate didn't increase as much as everyone is screaming.
Not for us,
Yeah.
not for us.
Yeah,
And that was something we said was, we were in the handful of towns that don't get an increase. Or, yeah, don't get as much of an increase. But we still have to pay for our highways, and
yeah, oh, yeah.
that's why we have an increase.
Well, I make the motion that we set the tax rate for the residential rates at 2.5324. And for non-residential town rate at 2.7628. Resulting in an increase for 6.3% for the town residential and 12.8 for the non-residential.
I will second that motion.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to accept the municipal tax rate? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none? The ayes have it. Okay, so that's municipal rate. Joe?
On the back page, it's,
Joe, are you hearing this? All right, the next item is the sewer system.
No, I didn't really hear it. Sorry.
Okay,
Can you forward this to Jojo?
We publish it
Yeah.
annually on the website,
Yeah.
the grand list and the tax calculation.
okay, and when will you have it up for, or is it up now?
It's not up until the board sets it. But so now that it's set, it will go up when the minutes do, I mean, before Friday. It goes up pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's just that she's got a Tuesday deadline, which is why I'm,
Well, that's next week.
oh,
Yeah.
it's next week, okay, no problem.
Today's Tuesday and the deadline went by at 4 o'clock.
Well, sometimes they give you a little bit of room.
Yeah, well,
All right, so look
sometimes.
for it on the website. It'll be, the tax rate for the grand list is gonna be published.
I can always speak to Victoria. She's always helpful. And thank you for asking me.
Okay, next up is sewer system. Do we have someone coming from SOS or?
No,
No,
it's me.
you,
It's you.
you're up.
So the sewer rate for the last 6 months, in order to meet the expenses of the sewer system needs to be set at $2.40 per 100 gallons, which is a decrease of 8 cents from when we set the rate in December.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the sewer rate.
Quickly before it goes up.
Yeah.
I will
Second?
Yep.
Yeah.
No.
Any more discussion? All those in favor of accepting the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. The sewer rate is $2.40, down 8 cents. SOS contract renewal.
So I sent the board, the contract renewal document from Lane Simon. Their proposal is for $86,160 per year. For this year, which is August 1st through July 31st. And then it increases 4% a year thereafter. That is a jump from our current contract of 14%. And we had budgeted their contract at 76,901, which would be the 4% increase from the current year. Presumably, a lot of that cost increase is due to increases in things like health insurance. Because they do carry that for all of their employees, but if you would like Lane to come in and speak with you, or if you would like an opportunity to discuss the contract further, I'm sure that they would if you so requested.
So. We planned for a 4% increase and this is a 14% increase.
Yes, I did not catch that it was a contract renewal year when I was drafting the
Okay.
budget. It does usually jump
Yeah.
between 6 to
Between
10% between contracts. They kind of catch up whatever they might have lost over the last 4 years.
Sure, but between 6 and 10 is different than 14.
Right, but you're also seeing higher than average health insurance cost increases.
And staff costs.
And staffing costs, it's a lot, but I don't know that it's outside of the realm of normal.
It's like 10,000 more than we
It
budgeted.
is 10,000 more than what's in the FY 25 budget.
And we're happy with SOS.
Yes,
Okay,
certainly,
they
and
seem-
they give us good
Yeah.
service, they take responsibility for all of the operation of the sewer plant. They
Mhm.
meet the minimum hours, they do all the reporting to the state. But it is getting expensive, like everything else.
And we don't really have any alternative.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think my only other personal concern with that contract is that it says that it will renew in January, which they often say. If it really would be nice if it would align with the fiscal year and they
Yeah.
would give us these renewals a little bit sooner. So that we can plan for them better. But that's mostly semantics. I don't imagine they would object to investing that.
So it's the users who will be paying this.
Yes.
In their sewer rate when we
Yes.
do the next thing, it's gonna jump up a chunk.
I mean, it's semantics, but would it be helpful to have that incorporated as part of it before we approve it?
Yeah, or you could motion to approve it with the proposed amendment. But it's really just the difference of saying, you know, we're not gonna renew a contract in January because we run on a fiscal year, not a
Right,
calendar
yeah.
year.
Right.
What's the,
So just,
what's the rate increase? Like, what does it look like? Applied to the rates? Can you see that, or is it? I'll wait for my spreadsheet now. Cause I'm directly affected.
You're on, you're on the sewer, yeah.
Need a dummy sheet so I don't break my formula. So an increase of $10,000 a year in expenses is another $5,000 on a half budget. Oh, no, except that's the whole thing, so I need the 10. Sorry,
No, this
please hold while my brain works.
yeah, this is impressive math. Yeah.
77, 970, 778. So it's a 14-cent difference on your tax, on your sewer tax rate per 100. To increase the annual budget by $10,000.
14 cents per 100 gallon.
we just gave them 8 cents back. And now we're.
But I don't use the water.
So
I only use.
the sewer rate does fluctuate quite a bit seasonally because it's your budgeted operating cost divided by the number of gallons that the system uses to distribute it among the users of the system. So, you know, when folks are using more or less water, you know, we read meters in June and December. So in the early spring, when people are doing things like watering gardens or, you know, more you're outside sweating and you're taking more showers, those things where water use tends to trend up, your sewer rate comes down because more water is being used. So same thing like the laundromat being closed caused the sewer rate to jump significantly because that's a heavy water user that's no longer on the system. You know, if this apartment development, when that's finished and it comes online for the sewer system, that'll bring your sewer rates down. So it's all, especially in these very small systems, a change in usage dramatically impacts the rate.
Do you have any idea when that renovation of the Really Feed store is gonna start? So we
I
get
do
this laundromat going? I don't see any activity there at all.
No, I mean, he did want to break ground this year, as far as I understood, but
He did.
yeah,
Yeah, I thought so too.
like ASAP kind of, but
Cause he has to, did he do the laundromat first thing?
he was proposing to do the laundromat first, but I have no idea in a practical sense, you know, whether the commitments he got from contractors
Yeah.
kicks in now that he has the funding.
Right, well, and there's supposed to be another restaurant opening,
That's right,
in the old Fireworks
grandma.
space,
Griddle.
Grandma's Griddle.
Yeah,
So that will help also, the additional one.
that's counterintuitive, so thank you for explaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the joys of a fixed cost system, because it doesn't particularly matter how much we process through the plant. The costs are the same.
Yeah, so the more people who use the system, the more it spreads out there.
Right,
Yeah.
right. The closer you can be to the max capacity of your system, the cheaper it
The
is.
cheaper it is.
So it would
As
be
I said,
best for me if
Intuitively,
more
Right.
people got it.
I would think the exact
Right,
opposite.
I mean, there is a ceiling, obviously,
have
if
to
you
do
get to
it
the
for
point
the
where you have
town.
to put an addition on, then you're back in the
You
loop
know, your
again.
neighbors were on the water system to water their lawns. You're not on the water, so.
I am not on the water, have my own water.
All right, so, back to the contract renewal.
I mean, I think since we're happy with the operation with SOS, that we should probably stay with them, because I don't know who else you'd get.
And we can explain the rate increase. It's
And
typical.
ask that they adjust to the fiscal year.
And how, I'm sorry, how often did you say the contract renews? Is it
Every 4 years.
4 years.
every 4 years?
And the next three would be
A
4%
4% increase
increase.
annually. Right,
Was that a motion, John?
Yes,
Is that a second?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor of accepting the contract renewal? Say aye.
And
Okay,
Aye. Any opposed? None, hearing none, see? The ayes have it, connection request,
so I sent the board, the documents that were sent to us by the engineer to make a connection on Pleasant Street. Those have also gone to the state, to the Department of Wastewater, because they have to review and approve all connections, as well. There was some indication that on this connection, state wastewater might be looking for an allocation agreement that just says, you know, yes, we have sufficient capacity at the sewer system to connect this property. So that's really what we're looking for, is just the confirmation of the select board that it's okay for me to write a letter that we have sufficient capacity to make that connection.
and we do,
And we do,
yeah.
yes.
and so,
Now, does the homeowner have to pay for any of this connection? This
Yes, yep.
Installation?
So according to our sewer use regulation, everything beyond the curb stop is the homeowner's responsibility. So if a homeowner wants to connect to the system, it is at their cost. They have to hire the engineer, they have to source the contractor, they have to pay to dig the trench and install everything and put everything back the way it's supposed to be, within the road.
But our users are going to pay for the extension of the line up to that house?
Absolutely not.
No,
It is the responsibility of the homeowner to connect to the system.
so he's
This,
gonna have to
this is
pay
a
for that one.
service connection. It is not a sewer, a municipal sewer line extension.
Mhm.
so does not benefit the houses beyond him,
Correct.
and now that there's somebody beyond him that's looking for, a connection, that has to be a whole, can they connect to the same point, or do they have to put a
No,
whole new line in?
they would need to put in an additional line.
Okay,
A service connection being the responsibility of the homeowner also belongs to the homeowner. It's their expense, it's their cost.
I figured.
But we're paying for the design.
No,
No,
absolutely
we're
not.
not paying for anything.
No,
Oh,
we
so-
pay for nothing. We do pay a small amount to SOS typically.
yeah,
Under a special project, because they will review the plans. You know, in addition to state wastewater, and they'll also be on site, at least checking in during installation to make sure that it's going in correctly.
and the property owner is aware of this,
To the best of my
you
knowledge,
know,
yep,
and they've got to
Wait,
do something. because they
which
get the
property,
tax.
which property is this one?
the
The
Toller
Toller
property. on
property.
Pleasant Street.
So it doesn't go as far, it doesn't go that far though.
That's why it's
Right, but it's a
The-
service line connection.
the whole distance to the existing line is a service connection.
Oh, the whole distance to
Whole
him,
thing.
Yeah.
and he will do that, okay, the whole distance. under the road, all the way from,
I don't know how much of it goes under the road versus across the,
it goes right past my house and it goes under, it's
Under
like
the road, yeah.
under the road, all the way straight, but it ends quite a bit ahead of him, but that's great, if he wants to extend it all the way there.
yeah, so I mean,
Okay.
obviously, the municipality owns the main. And then they'll make a service connection, it's very similar to when you connected, your connection to the town belongs to you. And
Right.
it's the same thing, just further up the road. The-
Yeah,
the
but
town
he,
existing.
I mean, but he
He's much
needs,
farther,
he's
yes,
much farther, and so he would have to put in the municipal line, he would have to extend.
it's not an extension of the municipal line, it is a private service connection.
So if somebody wanted to connect further up the road, they would have to run the line parallel parallel to his line. Down to the same connection that he's making, right? Or could they even do that?
I'm not an engineer.
So all you're asking for is the approval that we have the capacity for this system.
Right, that it's okay for me to write a letter that,
An
you know,
application
in,
letter.
in general, the select board approves this connection.
Well,
We
I'll make a
understand we have
motion that
capacity.
Victoria's authorized to write the letter for the use.
Do you have to do that, did you have to do that with mine? Do you have to do that with everyone?
No. Usually they will just confer with SOS and just confirm that there's allocation available. I mean, it does come before the board as like the utility connection that they sign off on, but the state has not asked us that before.
We gave the allocation request to Chris Babcock for his big project. On the Braley Feed Building.
We did
Other-
not.
We didn't.
I don't believe so. I
Yeah.
believe that Simon confirmed that there's an existing sewer line and that we have sufficient capacity at the plant. But
Okay, so we have a motion, but no second.
I will second that.
Any further discussion on this connection letter? Hearing none, let's have a vote. All those in favor of Victoria writing the letter? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. There you have it.
You still look.
Yeah, I just don't, I
unconvinced.
just, I think that Victoria should write the letter that we have the space in there. But I thought, I'm just very confused about the line of. The extension, the personal
Service
line,
line.
the service line, it's not, it's just, it's not. Our municipal line doesn't go that far. So I don't know how it could be a personal, like, extension, that's all.
Well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
it's just a very long service connection.
But it goes off other people's properties, it would have to or go under the road.
That's why it's under the
Forever.
road.
It would, I'm assuming it would stay in the right of way.
Right,
Yeah, that's why Tim didn't want to resurface that road, because he knew we were gonna dig it up for the sewer line.
yeah.
Well,
And-
that's
and there's-
also on the homeowner to,
There's
repave.
requirements for manholes and that sort of thing for the length, but it's still the homeowner's responsibility. If anything happens to that line, it's their responsibility.
The service line has to have manholes?
I believe it has at least one manhole in the design,
cause it's very far.
because it's far.
And,
long
and
distance,
it is a shame that it can't be, that it can't be municipal because of that other house on the corner. It just seems like but that's,
Well, her system's functioning though now, isn't it?
To the best
Yeah.
of my knowledge, they were
Right.
pursuing their own septic system.
Okay, well,
If
we
I
can't,
remember correctly, it might have even been that it was not failing, in fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, that brings,
That brings us to the town.
So to
administrator.
me again,
Bill.
the hazard mitigation grant program is sort of the result of the FEMA disaster declaration, is that additional federal funds flow into the state to try to mitigate against potential disaster impacts. I've been aware of this program, but I've kind of been saying right along that like, no, there's not really anything that jumps out. You know, we weren't really identifying any potential buyout properties. We didn't have that much flooding impact this time. But Paul Brock had brought up to me before about, you know, hey, don't you think the town ought to look into the culvert that runs from Lake Casper under South Royalton Village and to the White River? And we kind of went, yeah, okay, good point, it exists. We maybe ought to look into it. But the other offshoot of the FEMA disasters is that the state is putting a lot of focus on dams, particularly earthen dams. So they have been up doing coring activities on Macintosh Pond. And I was notified by Sarah Manning, from the Prudential Committee that they were up looking at Lake John and Lake Casper. And that they made a particular note of the drainage system that originates up near Lake Casper and comes down. I have not put a lot of time and effort into trying to find out more information about this culvert. From what I understand is it's very old. It roughly comes down off the hill under the interstate, under the Safford Street Railroad underpass, kind of in front of the firehouse, and then comes out somewhere over by the school, is my general understanding. I do know that there was one partial collapse before in front of the firehouse that was repaired by Demi's father. But beyond that, I don't have a lot of details. So my thought was this hazard mitigation grant might be a good opportunity to ask for some scoping. Try to get a look at it, see what kind of condition it's in, and start thinking about what can be done to make any repairs that we might find are necessary, or ensure the stability of that structure. Because that could be severely detrimental if it.
Yeah, that fails. I think we need to be proactive on that, yes.
Is this a full grant or?
I believe it's 75-25.
I
Is it 100?
think they're covering 100%.
I think the emergency
Damn.
department is covering the matching
For
portion.
now.
Right. So with the board's permission, I will reach out to Two Rivers and see how much assistance they can give us to
Good.
kind of flesh this out a little more and make an application for hazard mitigation grant funding.
Did somebody else mention the Carpenter Field
I
being
think
part of?
Carpenter Field's off limits.
Why?
My understanding is that Carpenter Field already has covenants on it, and it's already municipally owned. Generally, buyouts are more intended for private property that either was flooded and is now like there's an uninhabitable house, or other identified properties that have a potential for development. So you think that, you know, someone might be interested in selling off that parcel to put a house on it, and that would be an undesirable condition due to its location, either as buffer or floodway location.
Yeah,
Well, the other thing is, this is a mitigation grant, so repairing damage doesn't fall under mitigation. All right.
Okay. Like possibly,
I thought they said it was, things that happen over and over again. Maybe that was a different one they were talking about.
So if we said, oh, we should raise Carpenter Field 12 feet, that might be mitigation. I'm not sure that's what I'm talking.
I think we should pursue it.
yeah.
well, if you have time to put it on your plate.
Well, Two Rivers are due.
I'm
Your
hoping
first shot.
that Two Rivers will do the majority of the
Yeah.
lift for us. Yes.
And if it's 100% grant, then.
Yeah, because it said, yeah, Vermont Emergency Management will be covering the local match requirement, so that's kind of nice.
Do you need a motion?
I don't think I need a motion, 'cause we're not gonna spend any money at this point.
Okay.
I just didn't wanna take my single idea and run with it, and other people had different or better ideas.
Oh, that's a
No,
good
that
idea,
sounds,
Victoria.
that sounds like a excellent
Good
idea.
idea.
Potentially that thing, there's some workshops on there. That's some kind of.
I did see that. Yes. Yeah, no, because there's the joys of a cost benefit analysis thrown in there. Unfortunately, I know how to do those. Next up on my list is the audit engagement letter. We have hired, Janet Crow-Wisner for the last few years to conduct our fiscal audit. When we initially signed with them, I think we did like a 5-year term. Their cost proposal this year was, not to exceed $20,500. Our FY 25 budget for the audit was 16,500. And that was based on historic costs. In FY 24, the audit cost us 13,600. The reason for the price increase in their proposal is because this year we're required to have a single audit, which is more stringent, review of the grants that we've had, because we've spent more than $750,000 in federal funds. So that's why it's more expensive than we had anticipated, because we're asking them to do extra work.
Are we getting other proposals or just from budget?
Nope, just budget. So we're still within the firm where we had said we wanted to work with them. If the board wanted, after this year, we could put out another RFP for new auditors. But that's up to you guys.
Not to exceed 25 is up from 13. This thing.
So
Bottom line.
13,600 was the actual
13,600.
cost for FY 24, because they do bill by hour. So that's kind of like the worst case scenario. If it really takes them a lot of hours, if my paperwork is a mess and I'm not very helpful, you know, that sort of thing. I'm hoping that we'll come in closer to what the FY 25 budget is versus their worst case scenario, but
So this 19.5 to 25 is their worst case.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, off the top of my head, I think for FY 24, we had budgeted the audit at 14,500. So it's, I mean, they've been really reasonable. And our previous audit firm, I believe, was costing around 19,000 for the audit.
I don't see the price in this thing. Must be here somewhere.
It is, it's on page 8. It's not like in a form or anything, it's just
Oh,
a
okay.
fee for these services.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
They do an audit every year,
Oh, yes, we're on it annual.
all the time.
All the time, once a year, usually late August, early September. We try to get the audit taken care of, so that we have nice audited financials.
This is an expensive meeting.
More expensive all the time.
Do you need a motion to approve the
Yes,
contracting
yeah, the
with
board needs
spending money
to-
budget? Yes.
Because they're spending even more money.
Yeah. Well, I made so many motions to approve the budget, yes.
We're 14%.
Yeah, because we want to keep doing it so we can pin it all on you, Joe.
Okay, 'cause I'm going off, so. Good. I'll make a motion to approve the budget. Proposal from budget,
The budget,
or the
proposal.
proposal, budget proposal.
I will second that motion.
Any further discussion? Need a minute? All those in favor? of
Aye.
Accepting the proposal,
Aye.
say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Moving it along, quotes for permanent repair.
Another one.
More money.
More money.
You didn't send us this, did you?
I did, but they probably came just like a few at a time over a number of weeks. So I've been gathering quotes for the permanent repair of the Broadbrook Bridge #2 abutment. That we talked about earlier with Kit. We did apply to the V-Trans Emergency Grant Fund for this project, and we did receive a letter that we were being submitted for recommendation for approval. I still do not have a grant agreement, but we've been told we should expect one. So the first proposal that we received was from Daniels Construction, who is the company that did the initial emergency shoring of the bridge. Daniel's proposal is that they would sign a contract for a not to exceed price of $625,000. And the work that they've described across the three quotes, we tried to make sure it was a similar scope. To completely remove the existing abutment, they're gonna have to dig a maximum of 6 feet down, or until they find to pour a footing, you have to be below the river depth. And then pour a new footing for the bridge and transfer the bridge on to bear on the new footing, backfill, remove all the temporary shoring materials and restore the project area. So that's what we're looking at. We also got a quote from Winterset Incorporated. Their quote is a lump sum total bid of $580,375. And the third quote we received from Cold River Bridges, which is a lump sum of $878,756.
So what's the difference between the lump sum and the Daniels quote?
That's a not to exceed.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. Daniels, as the company that did the initial shoring, they need to retain ownership of their shoring materials. There's I-beams and waste block and all of that under the bridge holding it up that does belong to Daniels. So regardless of who you hire, there will need to be some coordination to return those materials to Daniels. Winterset was aware of that when they made their quotes, as was Cold River. And so Daniels not to exceed price means that they will bill us unit price item for whatever quantities it takes, because there is some unknowns. Everybody's just estimating here. We did not have an engineer go up and do a complete scope. So if what Daniels originally estimated is less, their cost might be less. But it will not be more than that 625,000 without them coming in to request a change order. For a valid reason.
Is there any requirement on when they can start and when they expect to start?
So we asked everyone, and I told everyone, we're really hoping to have it fixed before winter. There's a couple of constraints with, being in the river. You're not supposed to be in the river after October 1st. And also sometimes it's just too darn cold to pour concrete. So we're hoping that folks will be able to mobilize quickly. I think everyone was anticipating that, but of course, schedules might have changed some since then.
So Winterset is a firm cost?
Winterset is a lump sum cost, which means that is what it's going to cost you. Again, they
More
could
or less.
also, right, they could also approach you for a change order if
order.
they ran into an unexpected condition. But that's what lump sum cost is. If it costs them, technically costs them less than their estimate, you're still going to pay the contract price.
Who is the third bidder?
Cold River Bridges,
And they're 800 something.
878.
Yeah.
878,
756.
756.
And Daniels is like 40,000 more than Winterset, but Daniels is not to exceed.
Yeah, why
So
are
they
they
may not.
$300,000 more? What's
Well-
their-
It's possible that is a no thank you price.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds
I
like.
did send all 3 quotes, to Chris Bump, who's the V-Trans District 4 project manager. And he said, either Daniels or Winterset, he was the one who actually said, these are the contractors I would reach out to for quotes. Either contractor is qualified.
Well, we can take off the high bid.
Yeah.
And then it's between the other two. That,
Have we worked with Winterset before?
I have not. And in fact, Scott Jensen, who is our RME, was in today, actually just on a FEMA
I mean,
river management engineer. He
Oh,
works for
yeah,
the
yeah.
state of Vermont.
Yeah.
He was checking on some FEMA work that we did that FEMA asked him about to go verify that we did it correctly. And had said, he's not really familiar with Winterset. He's heard of the name, but he was like, make sure they have my contact information, which obviously we'll do.
yeah.
Um,
And so what are any potential constraints with the amount of money on emergency grant? Hard saying that.
That's the at this point. It always feels a little tentative without that actual grant agreement that says,
It's how
yes,
much you
we
have.
have this amount of money to give you. We do have, off the top of my head, about $500,000 in the highway improvement reserve. So we could kind of, cover. I don't anticipate that we're not going to get the grant.
I've seen, and
But it's just a matter of, will the grant cover 6.5, will it
My
cover
understanding-
580?
My understanding is that it will cover the costs. I don't know if there's a cost share. But I wouldn't expect that to be more than 50%.
I make a motion that we go with Daniels.
I will second that motion.
And that's based on, because they've started the work already, or? no?
Yeah. And because it's really not a giant difference, and because Daniels, if it comes in under, and I wouldn't doubt that there might be change orders under Winterset that number would even right out, and the fact that Daniels was already on it with Victoria really quickly and is familiar with the project already and has it has their own materials there already. That's,
Yeah, I mean, we have some history with Daniels.
Yeah.
They've actually seen and been in the dirt over there a little bit, so they're shoring up. And the fact that the Army is not familiar with Winterset is not reassuring.
Well, Winterset does work around the state.
Do they?
Yeah.
They've done
they're
some work
fully
locally.
qualified.
I'm
All
trying to
three
think
are
where, but
qualified.
they're somewhere, they were doing work somewhere in the last couple of years around here, but I can't think where. But I agree that Daniels already knows what the project is.
And I also think that, even if it's a matter of an extra 45 grand, and if we do have to kick in 20%. That's still quick math,
20% of 45,
9,000.
yeah.
So our actual out-of-pocket costs, even if it maxes out for quote unquote choosing wrong, is not really punitive.
Well, I mean,
And sometimes the lowest bid is not really the lowest, I mean, it's not gonna be the lowest cost necessarily.
right, it just we need to have a logical reason. Is what I'm looking for, and I think the experience that they've worked here before and on that particular bridge already is good enough for me.
They're familiar with it, yeah.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's have a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Let's have it. I'll say, we go with Daniels.
Too bad.
Right,
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks for this, love it.
I've got 96 more.
Okay, warrants. Approval of minutes.
Well, you approved the warrants, we're signing them now. Why are there two of these?
Two of us.
This, they divided it up, because this is
Fiscal
just,
year
oh, okay.
24.
Yeah, okay. Is there a payroll?
Should be the end, or pretty close to the end again, because, there wouldn't be more.
Is that a payroll?
Payroll document. And I'll use this one too. So can we get approval of the minutes that's posted? Do we have minutes? posted?
Make the motion, we approve the minutes for our last meeting.
Second? Someone can second that?
Second,
Okay. All those in favor of accepting the minutes from the last meeting?
Aye.
Let's have it. Personnel policy.
Which you did.
Yes, well, I believe that one of the outstanding questions was the tracking of comp time potentially. Do we-
Yep, and I forgot about it.
Okay,
Put it on next one.
and then I will also email you, because when I was rereading, I found like few small, like, is this right things, like, and I was trying to find that academy building thing that I stuck in there, and I
Oh.
read through it 3 times and I couldn't find it.
For
Right
that, I was,
So,
maybe you already did strike it on the
No.
first round.
No, it was in the.
Oh,
version I
really?
saw.
yeah, no, it was in there, and then at the last meeting, when you pointed out how reasonable it was, I said, yes, that's not necessary, so, all right. I mean, were there any other questions that came up for anybody in the interim? So, if at the next,
Oh,
Sure.
actually, sorry, does this include the talk about compensation for healthcare or health costs?
No,
Or is this
no, that's a
that's a
separate
different,
issue.
not part of personnel policy?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
so then I would propose that, by the next meeting, with a small helping hand from Victoria, I will have a proposed final draft then.
Okay. Gravel pit, any news?
Yes, I started working on the request for proposal for consulting engineering services.
Were we gonna do an RFP or an
Yeah,
RFQ?
Well. So then I got in weeds about what exactly needs to go into the RFP. And decided, I called an engineering firm that kind of says like, we do engineering consulting for Act 250, and I said like, hey, here's what's happening, we've been told we have to submit a new application. And I said, you're a little far away from us, and we really only do this if we're working on the project, but I'm surprised they're having you put in a new submittal, because we would think you should just be able to get an extension. Why don't you try calling the person who did the last one? I was like, thanks.
Yeah.
So
How many times would you suggest, Sarah?
that's it. go very far, but I did put in a call. To the Springfield office, and their admin is out of the office, they bounced me to somebody at A&R who said, send me your permit number and I'll take a look. Because my intent is to find out what we can reuse, since we haven't actually finished the
Oh, I
project.
see what you mean,
And what they would expect us to have a new document for.
right,
Because that will help us kind of figure out what we need from a consulting engineer to be able to get in good cost proposals.
okay.
Um,
I mean, my assumption is we could probably use much of the work that's in there.
right, yeah, I would think so.
Because, I mean, Pete Copsco is just saying that, you know, they just don't issue renewals, you have to jump through the hoops. And the real potential for any pitfall is just that A&R's requirements and approvals may have changed in the intervening 10 years.
Gotcha.
And they may say, well, yeah, that floated last time, but this time this is what we're looking for.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I didn't actually connect with the person at A&R. He kind of sent me an email and said, send me your permit number and I'll take a look.
What's it,
Um,
it was,
Aaron Brondike,
no,
who is covering for Pete while he's out.
oh, okay, because Pete had given me a different name for an A&R contact.
Gotcha. Yeah, so
So
I'm
maybe I could
trying
dig that
to-
up and give her a call.
Yeah, there was also a suggestion made that maybe D&K would do that sort of thing.
D&K.
Du Bois and King,
Oh, okay,
so,
I'm sorry I'm behind on my
no, you're
acronyms.
okay. I'm working on it. Trying to get some traction. But at any rate, Demi says that they've got the sand up. More or less. So. If the permit expires in November. We have, you know, the rest of through the fall to continue operations and kind of get our thing in, and then hopefully by the spring.
Oh, so
when we're ready
they
for
won't actually
activities.
need to actively be digging.
Right,
Okay,
yeah, so and that kind of occurred to my thoughts today of. Yes, we need to take care of it, but I'm not sure it's as dire as,
and we are reclaiming phase one now?
to the best of my knowledge. There's, you know, material there. To be moved. Aside from the area where they're working, they did do a bunch of reclamation work,
But the extraction is done in phase one.
don't know.
Okay. I don't know.
I don't know enough to
Yeah,
know
yeah.
which area they're still. Actively working in.
I hope you all found that fascinating.
Well, really,
Health officer, we've got progress on the application, the connection request, so that's good. Is there, I noticed some hot weather and smells coming out of there. Is that, are we in violation again, or?
Is it?
I'm not,
I don't know.
You're the closest.
It's unpleasant,
Is it
unpleasant street.
unpleasant street?
Yeah, no, luckily I. Don't have to, I think it's.
The wind
more-
blows it right away.
Yeah,
Um,
but bike riders who come down off Oxbow
When you're
apparently
walking,
call it like,
smell it, yeah.
don't
maybe,
like
maybe we
that.
should have Dave look at it, see if there's anything needs to be pumped again, or
Do they have a colorful name for it when they come down off Oxbow? Turd Alley or
I
something?
think so. I think they have a name for it.
watch out for the turtles in the road. Other business, we've got, John and I met with the rescue board, rescue building lease, met with the fire district and, they want a revision, or he wants a revision of the lease to say, make it into two documents. One is the lease and the other is a
Um. What's the other one?
The building would, after construction, would be donated to the town
Well,
with a long-term lease to the rescue squad.
oh, and the other thing
What was?
related
sorry,
is they
Victoria.
want to. The fire department does not want to keep the rescue squad. They want the town to take it over,
Take it over eventually,
which I
yeah.
know is a. That's a big deal, but that's what they want.
What was, Victoria, did you have something to tell us?
It just occurred to me that they probably need a vote to do that.
The rest.
The prudential committee, so. Once you own an asset. I don't believe that they can dispose of it without a vote of their, of the people, not the committee. I'm not a lawyer.
They wondered that too. They needed a.
Yeah, so I guess my point is similar to the previous issue that we have had when trying to develop this lease. Is that you should not have something in a lease document that you cannot uphold
Yeah,
by
Yeah.
the board themselves. I don't think there's anything in the current document that would prevent them from taking
Yeah.
that course of action.
So we can take the lease and make it just a lease.
for the land,
Yeah.
Is it
And,
not already?
yeah. What would the,
well, there's still language, I can't remember in the latest version, was there still language about?
in the event that they no longer use the building?
I think that got taken out.
Okay.
It's taken out and the town would buy the building for $1 or $10 or some stupid amount.
Okay,
Yeah, but again. That's getting beyond the
Yeah.
strictest definition of what a lease
Of a
is.
lease, yeah.
So. Getting the thing to be just a lease is one step. And then the other step is to deal with, what are we gonna do with the rescue squad? And do we have to go to the voters and say the town wants to take it over? Should we take it over? Is there, I mean, right now, it's, the fire district wants to get rid of it. This way I hear it.
Yeah.
They don't wanna deal with the rescue squad anymore, and that was one of the things that bothered me about the lease and that when we first started this whole thing was. There were all these provisions for what happens if they, it sounded like if they get in an argument with the rescue squad and kick them out, they can release it to somebody else. Well, that kind of goes against the whole idea of the reason we're building this building is to house the South Royalton Rescue Squad, not somebody else.
right.
And renting it to them for $1. So,
So now you say you want two different documents, one is the lease and one is the,
it is an agreement with
Prudential board.
Prudential Board
Yeah.
about, I think I wrote it down, something else.
about what happens to the building, about who owns the building.
I believe it's the management of the town being managing the rescue squad or taking over control.
There's a well-defined legal process for that sort of a situation to occur.
Yeah.
And I would strongly encourage both boards to be aware of that legal process before attempting to modify the existing lease agreement to incorporate those ideas.
We said we needed to have a lawyer's advice on how to proceed and we would take the lead and the lawyer to work it out and give their lawyer. Where the town's things,
Supposed to come up with.
I mean, it sounds like two
it's two things,
entirely distinct.
yeah.
And yet we'll be
Processes.
together, because if it's,
Yeah, and I'm not keen on that. I like if they, if they want. I mean, are they? In essence, want to make this whole project contingent on the town? Taking over the rescue squad, or is that just something they want to happen at some point?
At some point, because they realize it's gonna require a lot change in the way this town operates
Yeah.
to take on another.
They also want to get
entity.
the building going, so they don't want it to.
Right, so I was gonna say, my inclination would be, let's just get the lease done, and if they wanna talk about the whole rescue squad situation, there's a process and we can.
Yeah.
We can deal with that, but it really should not be tied together.
So how do we get knowledgeable about this legal process that?
You have a nice long conversation with VLCT. There's multiple fire districts in the state of Vermont, and even in very recent history. You've seen, Colchester do it with their fire district, where they merge the fire district into the town. It's not a reinvention of the wheel, it's
Yeah.
entirely possible. But in
But they're
my
not
opinion, it's separate from your.
But they're not talking about the entire fire department, they just wanna spin off the rescue
Spin off the
squad.
rescue.
It's a similar process,
Yeah.
is my understanding.
and why don't they want it? Because it's too hard to deal
They've
with.
never gotten along.
They never get along. The rescue squad gets paid, the fire department are all volunteers. And they don't feel comfortable,
Oh, for God's sake, oh, you mean rescue and fire, two different,
yeah,
Yeah,
but they're under the same umbrella of the Prudential,
for God's sake.
like the water.
I mean, I think it's a discussion we can have, and it's something we can explore with VLCT, but I think it needs to be separate from the lease process.
Well, I think that we're getting very close on this lease because the last document that I saw was. It wasn't talking about, anything, except there were still a few things in there, but it was a lot cleaner.
But did the lease revision include turning the building over to the town?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
still in there.
And then who, do you remember who's like, because I don't recall specifically, but in the last version, we collectively saw, once it's built, upkeep, maintenance, repair and all that is the responsibility of
It's
the.
their
Their
responsibility.
responsibility. If they're giving us the building, then it becomes our responsibility, unless it's in the lease that they're
In the
responsible.
lease agreement, you'd work that in, yeah.
So that, I think that would be an important distinction, and I'm not sure I have an opinion one way or the other, but I think it's an important distinction about who's responsible for all that.
Well. If we're gonna end up with the building because it's on our property. Then I think it would be in our best interest to maintain it as well.
No, it would absolutely, I think, absolutely would be our responsibility.
Like we do for the library.
Yeah.
In the
but
academy
But
building.
that's. Right. But that's just something I'd want to be crystal clear on. Releasing it to them for their rescue squad, but we're responsible for all the infrastructure upkeep. I'd like to know that beforehand, as opposed to leasing it to them for their rescue squad, and they're responsible for the upkeep.
Well, right now, there's no building, so, getting it built is the first thing.
Right, but if this is incorporated in the lease, then it's. The first thing is getting the building up, that's 1A, but 1B becomes. The day the key goes in the door.
Yeah.
Who's responsible?
And they need the lease so that they can really get their architect and engineers
Okay,
on board.
well, do we
And
have,
find those agreements.
do we have this revised lease?
No, not yet. We,
Okay.
we need to,
It's the same, there is no revision to the lease aside from what the board approved.
Yeah.
That is
Okay,
the current existence of the lease.
okay, so, and that's what their lawyer is reviewing.
there was some discussion about us reviewing it again with them before, because we know the lawyers charge a lot to do this, and
Mhm.
sometimes it doesn't seem like it's worth it.
Perhaps a
So-
joint meeting of both complete boards would be appropriate.
It's gonna be hard to get anything decided. Um,
Well, I guess my question is, I'm not clear then, do we need to take any action at this moment?
yeah, we're supposed to split this lease into the pure lease, and the rest of it is an agreement that is yet to be determined as far as ownership of the rescue squad. And that,
Okay, but that piece of paper doesn't exist yet.
right,
Okay. So then we don't have anything to do until they give us that piece of paper to review.
well, we're supposed to come up with it together.
Yeah.
And work on it together,
Okay,
because they're gonna have a different idea, and if we just keep asking them for, give us the document that meets our requirements, then we're not gonna get it, because they're gonna build a document that meets their requirements.
okay. Well, then what is the way forward then? If it's not a meeting of the two boards,
We will have to have a meeting, but not, we need that document, we need to come up with a version of the document. And then
we need to come up with a version,
we do, we are the committee,
you and John.
Yeah.
Okay,
and then go ahead and meet with them again. Hopefully within the next 2 weeks.
okay. That's fine. I'm balking a little bit on this falling on you two when this is something they want and it's outside of the scope of what we initially were working towards. But if you guys are willing to take that on,
Well, we're just negotiating something with them. Is this board will have to make the final agreement.
The thing
Right.
about,
right, but they're asking you guys to do this extra work for them essentially.
I don't have a problem in making the lease just
The lease, yeah.
but the problem is getting the rescue squad under town ownership. That is the problem that I see, is we need more input than just the two of us.
Well, and I think that's the chicken before the egg or vice versa. I mean, the lease is what they came to us with. And that's the project they need, is to build that station. If they then want to open a discussion about the town taking over the rescue squad, I think that needs to be a separate.
And that's separate, that's where
separate
we need the
process.
League of Cities and Towns advice. how we
Yeah,
proceed
and that's
on
gonna,
that.
and in order to get that done, then they're not getting that thing built this year.
They know
because
we're not
I
gonna
don't
get it
force-
This year.
Well, we're not gonna break ground this year,
Yeah,
cause I
no.
don't foresee us taking over the rescue squad. As a quick and easy
No.
decision and or process. So if they really wanna wrap this all up together, then they're putting the whole project on hold.
And I don't see it as being a decision of just our board. I think that's a decision for the people. the town.
Town,
That's what I mean.
yeah.
Yeah, it's much bigger than the lease. So. But what I'm hearing you saying is that they wanna tie these two things together. Is that
They
true?
wanna know that we are heading down.
They were open to that discussion of the town taking it over.
I think. We're always open to discussion, but I don't know that we can give them the kind of assurance it sounds like they want.
No.
Is,
Well, who else
If-
would
if-
take it over? I mean, who else would take over the rescue department,
Well,
the Royal.
it's not who would take it over, it's what would happen if we didn't agree to
Have
that,
one,
then it
right.
stays with the.
And it
Prudential
stays
Board.
with the Prudential.
They don't want it.
And then-
Why, how? And then would they be able to just drop it if they, I mean,
I
is that-
don't know, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's not, that's not something that we've talked about, they just said, we don't want any part of it. So,
Well, then maybe they should have brought that up before they started this whole ball rolling for $1 million building. Or am I being harsh here?
well, I think you're wishing something didn't happen, but it's already in place, I mean.
No, it's not that I'm wishing something didn't happen, it's that they have 3/4 completed this process and now want to change the game.
I mean, they've got the money to build the building.
Right,
They're ready to go with that. but
so all they need is a
they
lease. Yeah, and then we're open to
And then
a
the side
discussion
agreement to
about,
discuss the future.
well, a side agreement to discuss it is fine, but
Yeah.
I don't think that we can make any commitments that it's going to happen, not going to happen, how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. It's like if they want to open a discussion, I think as a board, we always have to be open to a discussion with our town partners, but sort of hinging one agreement on the other is not. Not a way to run a railroad
Or a rescue squad.
or a rescue squad. It just strikes me funny that at this point in the process of putting up this $1 million building, they now wanna make sure that we're looking forward to taking over the rescue squad that's going to be in that building.
Mhm.
So I mean. So again, do we really need to take any action tonight or?
No, we just want you to know that's what they're thinking
Okay,
of eventually transitioning the rescue squad operation over to the town,
okay,
which is going to require town approval and
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah.
And
But
a
we
myriad of different other opinions.
Yeah.
You know, that's also gonna happen. You know,
Okay.
it's not gonna be a narrow funnel down to the end, it's gonna be a.
I was just getting the feeling that their discussion with you was sort of tying these two pieces together, like one wasn't gonna happen without the other.
they're not even in agreement.
Okay,
on a lot of
okay,
stuff.
then I will cease ranting
Yeah.
and,
And Dave wants to get the building up and out. Up and done, and Theron is looking at long term. Of how we administer the rescue squad, if the Prudential wants to dump it.
okay, so you guys are going to continue
We're
working
gonna
on
talk
the
to them
lease
again, yeah,
part of it?
getting leased done,
Okay,
and then that comes back here,
yes,
because they need to approve it on their end too.
okay. Well, thank you for your work and for listening to me.
Yeah.
Has anyone got anything else?
Is there a marked up copy of the lease with what they were hoping to see change?
No. Didn't see any real change to the lease in itself.
No, they kept saying wanted to see two documents.
Yeah,
And one of them is strictly the lease, and the other one is this other document that
Yeah.
talks about how the town wants to take over, or,
once the building is up, what happens, yeah.
yeah, the future plan. Which I believe it can be an agreement in. We can just have an agreement that we will work on it, but do we actually need a document that we all sign? I don't know. That's unclear to me.
Yeah.
So would the lease that they're envisioning now incorporate the town taking over the building after
No.
it's done?
No,
No, okay,
So the lease agreement as it is acceptable.
I believe so.
I don't think so.
No,
Otherwise, they would have,
no.
they would have said.
Well,
this
when
is
we get
good.
some clarification on what we'd like to see from the lease document, I would be happy to send it back to the lawyer.
Well, I will look at it again
Yeah.
and see if there's anything in there that I think doesn't belong in there. And we'll look it over one more time, then get back to you. Then get back to them with that.
Because the
That's the
original
plan.
agreement that they drafted was where if they disbanded, the town would buy the building for whatever its appraised
yeah, I
value.
remember that,
And give the town of Tunbridge and Sharon
yeah,
hunks of money.
yeah, I do remember that
And
quite clearly.
now it's just, if they disband, the town would buy it
Buy
for
for a buck.
$10 or whatever
Whatever.
it is.
Okay,
But even that is, that's beyond.
Beyond a simple lease, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
The lease is, you'll rent it for this period of time for.
yeah, well, because we're releasing you land to put up that building.
And when you vacate it, you're done, and that's it. But anyway. So, have we got any other business?
That access point?
Oh, yes, thank you. We received an access permit from a resident on Davis Road who is looking to underground his utility lines. Debbie looked at it, he said it's fine, he doesn't have any issue as long as they put their concrete caps over the ditch. But even that, he didn't seem too concerned about. He sees it as a benefit if there's not lines overhead that they have to worry about.
Yeah.
Sounds like a nice thing to do,
Yeah,
yeah.
and so basically he just, Ryan just wants to,
There's Davis Road.
to,
It's,
dig it up from the pole to his
Yep.
property and.
Don't go.
Sounds like it.
Okay,
Why don't you take a
I
right,
know where it is, yeah.
goes back down, yeah.
So,
Goes back down the hill.
so do we need, so this property is,
It's up at it's by the Four Corners with Johnson and Royalton
Yeah.
Hill, and
Mhm.
Davis is just
And-
past the flat.
and he's built a huge barn,
Yes,
and then behind it
Past
is
the
a
old
small.
schoolhouse?
Yeah, so way beyond it, not that Four Corners. So if you turn off of Royalton Hill onto Davis there at the, and
At the
then you go around that turn.
Yes.
Right after you go around that turn, there's that house with the barn that's 3 times the size
Yeah.
of the little, yeah,
Okay.
that's the property.
Oh,
There used to be a big old house there and they took it down.
Polly Crawford grew up.
Yeah, it was cool. I looked at that house when
Yeah.
it was for sale, but it was,
Need a lot of money.
oh. So do we need,
I make a motion, we approve the permit to bury the power lines. Davis Road. At their expense.
Second,
I will second that.
okay. All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I think we can adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
Is this letter something that I need to sign or says,
Jojo,
there's one,
you there?
there's one,